So we finished attaching the 2x4s, and I've already put the 2x3 sistering on the back side of these web members. The reason why we do that is we need this here so that when we put our plywood gusset plate over, it's all the same thickness, and we can screw into the new wood and get the new gusset plate just like that one over there, nice and tight. So these pieces of wood, I've already marked the holes where I need to drill. I did that while sitting downstairs in my office chair where it's nice and warm and comfortable, as opposed to drawing up here in the attic while standing in the insulation. So what we're going to do is, this is the exact same process as putting the 2x4 on. We're going to get this into place. We're going to clamp it nice and tight so when we drill our pilot holes, everything lines up perfectly. So I'm going to use a quick clamp here just to get me started. And once that's there, I'm going to use a 6-inch clamp and put it on. Now when you tighten this bigger 6-inch clamp, this one's going to get loose because you're taking the strain off. And now this can potentially fall off. So these clamps I always put over the top of these web members so that if I'm going underneath, they can't fall straight down. They actually fall and they would roll down here. Luckily I haven't had that happen, but you never know. It's the last repair. Chances are it might. I'm going to put the pointy end of these clamps away from me. Now these repairs are getting towards the peak of the roof. There's a little bit of height here that I can work with. I'm still sitting down because that's easier than crouching. Just going to take our hammer and we're going to make sure everything here is nice and tight up here. This is our chance to get it perfect. And I think we're good. So now we're going to drill out our pilot holes. This bit is 7/64, and that's the pilot hole size for drilling into hardwood. This old wood is not hardwood, but it's very dry, old softwood. Now, because I could not find a 3.5-inch long 7/64 bit, I need to take these pieces of wood off, and I need to continue drilling the pilot holes into this old wood, because the old wood is very hard and brittle, and if I don't have a pilot hole, putting all the construction screws, not just these that I'm going to put in, but also the next ones that hold the plywood gusset plate over top, it's a lot of strain for that old piece of wood, and I don't want it to splinter. Now remove our clamps. Take down our piece of wood. And now I'm going to finish the pilot holes into the old web member, which is why we're drilling pilot holes to begin with. So now we're going to put on our construction adhesive. I'll make a list of all the materials used for this repair, but this is the LePage's black tube construction adhesive. I'm going to put 2 beads all along, and I always make sure I get some over top of the holes that I drilled, so that when I drive the screws, some of it gets on the thread of the screw and it helps lock it into this old web member when I drive it home. I'm going right over top of the old metal gusset plate, which is now nice and flat because we did that earlier repair. Sometimes there's a question about how much of this stuff to use. My theory is I only want to do this once, so I use lots. It's not like white wood glue where you just want a thin layer so that the wood is bonded. This is where your clamps work themselves loose, because the adhesive acts like a gasket and prevents you from getting it tight the first time with one clamp. And of course, I've misplaced one of my clamps. Where did you go? There it is. This is the really important time to make sure that your clamps are tight, and in this case they're overhead of the web, so that if they do fall, they don't land on your head. There we go. Same tightening method as with the top sister 2x4. Start in the middle and work out to the ends. That way this gets nice and tight. You don't want to tighten this up and end up having too much slack up here and causing a lot of pressure. There's a chance that this clamp becomes loose as these screws do their job and compress the tube. Yeah, getting looser now. At this part of the roof, we're getting near the peak, so there's some room to work. Where it gets even more dangerous is down close to the eaves, where there's not as much room, and you're laying on your back, working overhead, and these clamps are right above your face. They get kind of loose. that's it for building up the web members. So the next series of videos is going to talk about safety in the attic, making some of these jigs and fixtures that help do the job. Going to talk about engineering, going to talk about building permits, and we're going to take a tour and look at all the different types of issues we've got up here that need to be fixed. This isn't the only style of repair we have going on.